in particular over the last year.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, they're all very, very dedicated, and it got back to that question that PJ Nolan, asked, when you see their dedication and their commitment, and it's good to see them coming through and seeing the fruits of their labour. But they put a lot of shift in to the players and all those academies.
67.
But yeah, it's good to see them, and particularly, for Tian, he's had COVID this year, which knocked him out of a few tournaments. That would have been a huge setback. Chambing Yu as well, who had COVID, and of course Nopon, Sang Nam, all from the same academy with COVID. So it's been difficult for some of them, for sure.
So 7-1 for Tian Pengfei. Let's head down onto table 8. Mark Davis and Jamie Clark. Mark Davis reduced to 5-2 deficit. 5-1 deficit to 5-2. Jamie Clark's on a useful little break with the balls nicely spread here in their 8th frame. Jamie Clark, who was in tears when we interviewed him last summer, Ken, he just got over the line against Sonny Akani in Judgement Day, and he was so overcome with emotion because with that victory, not only was he making his Crucible debut, but perhaps even more importantly than that, he had secured his status on tour, and he had to go away for 15 minutes. He was absolutely beside himself. And when you think about how well he then played to beat Mark Allen, and I know it was a sort of contentious, memorable match against McGill in the last 16, he has clearly got bottle, and he's produced it again in this run at the qualifiers 8 months on from last summer.
Yeah, well, I suppose he got a lot of those great memories, and he's carrying it into these qualifiers this year as well, and that's what's keeping him going. But he looks very, very comfortable. I like the sets up. Like every shot, he's concentrating so much now. This break, he's giving it everything in different shots. And when he's walking into the shot, he's lining up nicely, but he's putting everything in because he knows how important it is to keep the concentration, keep a good cue ball, and try and win the frame from this visit. Try and keep his composure. But yeah, I think he's done really well. Done really, really well. Every year, I mean, that's the great thing about these qualifiers and the Crucible, the World Championship. It throws up some wonderful stories, doesn't it? And journeys of different players and different situations, what they're going through in their own personal life and what it's taken to get there and achieve something. And yeah, it's just every single year it's fantastic, and he was one of the great stories of last year.
It's funny, having been on the circuit now for 14 years, nowhere near as long as you, I think coming to the qualifiers is really important because you understand. You can look up on Q Tracker and the World Snooker Tour website for the actual match stats and percentages, but what I've learned about snooker in the time I've been involved, you need to understand the emotion, and you need to understand the people and their backgrounds and their families and what is going on for them around snooker to fully appreciate what they go through on the table. And I think when we arrive at the World Champs, Ken, on Saturday, we're that much better prepared that we have been across the qualifiers and we've seen the emotion and the beads of sweat up close. I think it does nothing but heighten your understanding for the men behind the achievements.
Yeah, absolutely. Completely agree. And I mean,
55.
It wasn't so long ago that we would have had crowds at these, when people actually, so many people used to come just to the qualifiers because they could see the drama unfold and feel the tension in the audience. I mean, I remember going back years ago even to Preston Guildhall where there was huge crowds for the qualifiers, and even here at the English Institute of Sport we used to have big crowds as well when we had it in a different room, but it was still fantastic. That's all this is missing at the moment, but the drama and the tension is certainly not missing.
So Jamie Clark 5-2 up. We've already seen Kurt Mafflin head off after 9 frames. He's 7-2 up against Rob Milkins. We've got Liu Heo Chan and Chang Bing Yu on their final frame of the afternoon. A little bit tight, only 2 reds left on the table. Heo Chan with a slender lead of 15. Matt Selt and Scott Donaldson are separated by just a point in the 7th frame. Selty leading 4-2. But as we watch Mark Davis try and claw his way back into this frame against Jamie Clark, we're talking about the emotion and what it means to these guys to play in Judgment Day and how they deal with that cauldron in their head and that atmosphere. We got fascinating insight from Jamie Clark, the journey 8 months on from making his Crucible debut last summer.
And how helpful do you think it will be when you come out for Judgment Day that you've already come through that cauldron once?
I don't think there's anything that can prepare you for that. It's the pressure out there. But last year you couldn't have put anything more on there. If you tried, you know, in my position, like top place and Crucible and ranking points and everything, you know, and just keep my top place. This year I think I'll be a little bit more relaxed. I don't know though, because you go out there sometimes and as I say, you can't feel your own body. You just got to try and handle it. And I think, you know, maybe it'll help me that I was here last year and I dealt with it. And you know, we'll see if it carries me forward to this year. Well, I can really see how the greats, you know, Ken Doherty, Graham Dott, you know, they've been there hundreds of times before, and I can really see why they want to get back there. It's a really special place. It's a really special occasion. You know, I think it's something that, you know, that we've all, well, in my position, I've always wanted to get to. You know, and it is nerve-wracking. It doesn't matter, as you said with Graham. You know, he's in his 40s, probably. He's been around for years and years, been world champion, and it's still nerve-wracking. I think it's just how you sort of deal with the pressure when you're out there.
Good insight there from Jamie as to what these guys go through.
And he's dead right, you know, it doesn't, no matter how many times you've been there, you know, it doesn't get any easier. You still feel the tension, because all the great times that you've been at the Crucible, you want to experience it one more time. So that's what, the fact that he's experienced it once, he wants to go and do it again, you know, so it's fantastic. It's a wonderful story, actually. Great to see him get there. 16. Yeah, you can imagine the pressure to keep his tour card, to get to the Crucible. Of course, the money came in handy as well, but all of those things you put into the melting pot, and you can imagine the pressure that builds up. But he's holding himself together very well. He's up against a worry old campaigner in Mark Davis, and who's been a top player for many years, and it's 6-2 now to Jamie Clark.
Well, it's turning out to be an excellent afternoon so far. No disrespect to their 2 opponents, for Jamie Clark and also for Jamie Jones. Remember, we've already got Mark Williams through for the Welsh, and Ryan Day came through a nervy match yesterday. We'll be seeing him, the pride of Pontycuma. He'll be playing tomorrow.
That's going to be some match as well, isn't it? Ryan Day against Ricky Walden.
Oh, brutal, brutal. A former semi-finalist against a 3-time quarter-finalist. Both of them, I think, 3-time ranking event winners. Ricky's 3 titles coming all in the Far East, and Ryan Day, the reigning shootout champion. I think he won Riga, and he might have won the, I can't remember his 3rd title off the top of my head. Snooker shootout, Riga. Now the other one will no doubt re-emerge from the depths. Oh, Gibraltar perhaps, I think. But this is a fine end to this frame from Jamie Clark. Positive signs from the Welsh contingent. Saw them having a chat when they arrived. Very soon, well, we can head off now. That's a handy 4-frame lead there for Jamie Clark. Let's go over to table 2, where they're almost done and dusted this afternoon, and it's been pretty much one-way traffic for Tian Peng Fei. Graham Dott's just put his he's just put his mask on. He doesn't think he's picking up a cue again in this frame, and you can see why. Well, I mean, 8-1 is a nightmare.
Yeah, and just the barrage of breaks from Tian Peng Fei. I mean, this is one of his best performances that I've seen, and against it, of course, such a a player that's been so good over the years. So much experience in this particular round. Graham Dott.
83.
This is wonderful stuff from Tian Peng Fei. Another possible century on the cards here for him. Works with Steve Feeney, of course, who works with a lot of the players. Nice little cannon there. And now, century definitely to finish off this session in style.
91.
So you said, Ken, that your advice
92.
to the milkman would be you come out with the mindset of trying to win the first little mini session.
Yeah.
3-1. Rob Milkins, of course, trailing 7-2 instead of 8-1, which will be the mountain facing Graham Dott. So
Yeah.
what's your advice to Dotty then?
If you can imagine, like Robert Milkins, he comes back into this match tonight. He wins maybe, say he wins the first 3 frames, then all of a sudden he wins 4-0. He goes 4-0 at the interval. All of a sudden, from 7-1 down, now it's 7-6, and now the pressure suddenly goes straight back on Court Mafflin. Even if he wins the first 3 frames, it'll put serious pressure on the Court Mafflin. So, yeah, these matches I've seen it so many times over the years. 7-2, first to 10.
106.
It's not impossible or insurmountable, as I said. So,
107.
Graham Dott, 8-1. Well, I mean, he's going to have the mindset he's got to win every frame. No miss snooker for him, but he's one of those players, Graham Dott. He's not going to throw in the towel. He's not going to throw his arm at shots, and but he has to obviously produce some unbelievable snooker to try and get out of this one.
14. One and 14 in the frame. Tian Peng Fei.
So an excellent afternoon for Tian Peng Fei. 8-1. He is 2 away from a second appearance at the Crucible. Graham Dott has everything to do if he is to turn 20 Crucible visits into 21. Right, in a moment we'll go around the grounds, as it were. We've got 6 tables still very much in action. Now, we brought you the Mark Williams story of 2018 in his own words. There is the Crucible on a glorious sunny April afternoon. Still got 3 and a bit days to go. We haven't been on air for that long. And anyway, our next Crucible Chronicle, as they're called, is a brilliant animation with John Higgins talking about an impromptu trip he had to make halfway through a World Championship semi-final with Barry Hawkins.
I can always remember playing Barry Hawkins in the semi-final. I was leading 10-6, but I just knew I had big problems with my tip at that time. The closest person to me was Les Dodd. Obviously, everybody knows him on the snooker circuit. He's a big, happy-go-lucky player, and he gets on well with everyone. I phoned Les. I says, Les, any chance I could get the tip done? He says, not a problem, John, just travel up. My family had come down, so I was just getting them settled into their flat, and then I says to him, look, I'm going to have to shoot off to Southport, and he thought I was kidding on. But no, I says, no, listen, my tip's goosed. I can't, it's not going to last me the end of the semi-final, never mind if I had to get through into the final. So they thought I was crazy. But anyway, get in the car, it was around about 7 o'clock. Took me about 3 or 4 hours. There was all sorts of traffic works on the M62. I think I got to Les about 11 o'clock at night, I think it was. Selby and Ding were just finishing the third last session, so I had a cup of tea, watched the end of that session, and then Les says, right, get the cue, let's see it. Done a good job. I had about half an hour practice on his table, and then he says, look, you can stay longer. I says, no, look, Les, I need to get back because I'm kicking off against Barry again at 10 o'clock in the morning. So jumped in the car again from Southport around about 1:30. The M62 was closed. I had to go over the Snake Pass. If I can swear, I was absolutely myself now because it was like 3 or 4 o'clock in the morning, and there was no cars on the road. It was just a single lane traffic, and I'm thinking, where the hell am I going here? If I break down, if anything happens here now, I won't make my semi-final. Luckily, I get back into my flat at like 6 in the morning. 2.5 hours sleep, had a quick shower, shave. I went for a quick half an hour practice before the semi-final. Finished the third session 16-8 in front against Barry. Obviously it wasn't to be. I didn't manage to beat Selby in the final, but I will Les Dodd a great debt of thanks, because without him I might not get through to the final.
Ah, these Crucible Chronicles are absolutely brilliant. There are a few more to come as well. Wow, they're absolutely fantastic. So, this is Liu Heo Chan on table 3.
I didn't know that story, to
Did
be
you
honest.
not?
No, I didn't
It's
know it.
legendary, him having to drive over Snake Pass, which if you're not familiar with this part of the world, and I only am because my wife's from Chesterfield, you can drive over from Sheffield to Manchester over the Snake Pass, which is beautiful scenery, but it's not a road for the faint-hearted if there are snowy, blustery conditions. But yeah, it's a brilliant story from John Higgins in his own words there. But well, from one match that's really one-sided, Tian Peng Fei 8-1 up against Graham Dott. This one, after 9, could not be closer. Liu Heo Chan against Chan Bing Yu. But how well has Chan Bing Yu done to get himself back in the hunt from 4-1 down? Yeah,
very well. And he's produced some good snooker as well. He's made a couple of centuries already in this match, but this is really good stuff from him. I said this is a boy to watch. Of all the Chinese players, there's another kid as well called Gao Yang as well on the tour. He's a left-hander. So these are following in the footsteps of the likes of Bing Tao, Yu Long, Xin Tao. So yeah, good comeback for him to just close it to 1.
Right, let's head over to table 1, their 9th frame of the afternoon. Liam Highfield's on a break of 22. They're all square at 4 apiece. Can he edge himself in front? Jamie Clark's on a break of 14, by the way, over on table 8. 6-2 up against 31. Mark Davis. Matt Selton, Scott Donaldson are on their 7th frame. Now, bearing in mind we're already at 2:30, I'm wondering whether they might end up getting pulled off a frame early. Martin Clark said he'd be reluctant to let a frame start after 3 o'clock because he wants the players to make sure they have a decent break before coming back tonight at 5. By the way, Ken, I know we're alluding back to a question earlier. If you've just joined us, Ken was asked whether he knew if there were any sportsmen from other disciplines who he knew had a great skill at snooker. David Davis has sent a message saying apparently, I don't know if this is true, Ken, nice pot there, middle right by Liam Highfield. Those pockets have been playing pretty tight. Apparently Gary Anderson, the former PDC darts world champion, the Scot, has had a max in practice.
You're joking me.
Wow.
Well, I just got a text from Mark Selby. He must be watching us as well and listening in. And he sent me a text to say that Gary Lineker has had a 138. That's his highest break. 138. Wow. Yeah. I know Andy Townsend has made a century as well. Ronnie Whelan wasn't a bad player as well. I remember playing a doubles sort of charity game with him in the Liverpool Victoria Charity Challenge.
45.
So there's quite a lot of sportsmen, I think, love the snooker. They love because it fills up their time, particularly footballers and golfers. And
46.
Yeah, there's some really good ones that can adapt to the snooker table and make some good breaks. But Gary Anderson, 147. Well, that's very impressive.
Yeah, it's amazing if it's true. And another message from a guy called Harrison Cashman. Apparently, this is in response, if you are just joining us, thanks for your company. This is in response to me mentioning that I'd read somewhere that Andy Murray was quite a snooker fan. Apparently Novak Djokovic is as well.
Really?
Yeah. Well, I never.
There you go.
Keep the questions and the comments coming. We'll try and get through this together this afternoon.
Oh, what a kick that was. Oh, you could hear it. It was
51.
Thunderous. Wow. I'm not quite sure what he's left the red. Is he into the left centre pocket? But that was... Well, you can see his face, Liam. I really can't believe it. Is he on this red into the left centre? He's sizing it up, so he may be able to cut it in. Yeah, he does. Certainly pots, and if he can pot this and get on a colour, a really good chance.
1.
He's nicely on the blue. Have a look at this perfect angle. Now, what do you do here? Do you go into the pack of reds? Do you track the loose red below the black? For me, I think play into the pack of reds above the pink. Try and get them all into the open. He only has to get on one. Try and hit the one that's closest to the pink spot, maybe full on. No, there's a lot of these Chinese players. It's one thing they do, and I think it's the wrong way, is they try and cherry pick reds.
6.
Instead of trying to get them open straight away. Look at it, he's not a great angle. I mean, if you can screw this back and get on the black, okay. He's been, yeah, wasn't the right way. Why didn't you just
6.
go into the pack of reds, open them up, and if you get on one, you've got to put yourself in a really good position to try and win the frame from it.
Liam Highfield in a good position in their last thread of the afternoon. Now check out this fluke. Jamie Clark 6-2 up, so the afternoon is going well for the Welshman who made the last 16 8 months ago. Never in doubt. Never in doubt from Jamie Clark. Show you Long's face, a picture of concentration.
1.
And you alluded to this earlier, Ken. What a clearance when he was 5-4 down
Show Long.
against Hugh C. Absolutely nerveless to force a decider and then win. I mean, to come through that match from 4-2 down in the penultimate round of qualifying, for somebody who's only 23, that showed some real bottle.
Yeah, definitely did. So great clearance, wasn't it? He's got everything, this boy, definitely, for sure. He's got a good head and the shoulders, good temperament.
Show Long. 1.
He's got his opponent a bit of a tricky one here. Try and nestle into the reds, is he? Just below the pink spot. Looks a bit heavy. Is he going to leave one on? I don't think so. He's not happy.
One.
Well, apparently, good afternoon. Hello. Sorry you've got to look at us, but the director has decided to pop us in vision in our obviously socially distanced booth here. Apparently, I'm a bit like, was it Jeff Stealing or Jeff Stelling? I think
Jeff
he means
Stelling.
Jeff Stelling with Paul Merson. I reckon you'd take that, Ken. I certainly would. Jeff Stelling's
Paul
a great
Merson,
broadcaster.
No, dedefinitely not Paul Merson, me.
Letitia?
He's fat and he wears glasses.
About Letitia. Oh, listen, Ken, thoughts on Man U at the moment?
Flying. I wish the season had started now after that 3-1 win against Tottenham the weekend. Mourinho, go back into your box.
Oh dear. Right, yes. So Jeff Stelling and Paul Merson. Well, one of us is happy with that analogy, but perhaps not the other one. But talking about Man U, Ken Doherty is a very, very happy man at the moment. Anyway, thanks for your company and your comments and your questions and bits and bobs and your stats. Another one, I'd forgotten this actually. I interviewed Glenn Durrant a number of times when he won the BDO Darts World Championship. What a great 10 years I had working there every January. Darts player Glenn Durrant is a fine billiards player, and I'd forgotten that. Huge Middlesbrough fan as well, absolutely huge. Oh, and another one from Harrison Cashman. Nathan Aspinall, 2020 PDC Premier League finalist, another darts player, is also a decent snooker player. So keep it all coming. We'll be back again at 5 o'clock. We're not disappearing any time just yet because we need to see whether Zhou Yulong can give himself a little bit of a psychological advantage over the, what is it, 2.5 hours or so that he'll be thinking about this match before
and I
they
think
come
it
back.
would be, wouldn't it? It would be a huge
Yeah,
psychological blow to Liam Highfield, particularly with that kick that he got when he had that 50-point lead. Right into the left centre. These are the frames
15.
that really hurt, you know, when you've sort of, you feel like you should have already won it about 10 or 15 minutes ago. It's the last frame of the session. You want to have a lead going into tonight, and you've got to wait a couple of hours and sort of stew over that kick, and the frame, if it does, get snatched away from Liam Highfield. Zhou Yulong, quick look at the look at the score. 22 points behind. Tricky Red is the one down close to this bottom left-hand corner pocket.
23.
Yeah, that was the tricky
So
one,
long.
Rob. That was
30.
the tricky one. Along this top cushion behind the black, they've become so tight, these pockets, and any bit of pace, as he had to inject a little bit of pace into that cue ball, and they don't go. They don't go in. So what a relief for Liam Highfield. 14 points in the lead, so he's going to need red, black, red, and one more colour.
1.
He'll be delighted to have a chance to get back to the table, Ken, after that big kick. As you said, he would have, it would have niggled him a bit this afternoon.
Oh, big time, yeah, big time. He was wallowing, wasn't he, in his chair there for a little while. He probably as relieved as anyone to get back to the table. Now he's nicely on the red. 22 points in the lead, so red and blue would be enough, but
8.
you'd feel he should win the frame from here.
Nine.
And we should point out he's playing, I mean, he's a class act, Liam Highfield, but if you look purely at the statistics, he's playing someone who's more than 30 places higher than him in the world rankings.
Yeah.
You wouldn't think it from the contest we're enjoying this afternoon.
14. 16.
So he's going to have a slight advantage going into
19.
5 o'clock session. He's got a couple of hours to enjoy and rest and refuel.
23.
Been a hard battle this between the two. There hasn't been too much between them. Liam Highfield did have a 3-1 lead at one stage, but
28.
was pegged back. Zhou Yulong. You'd be disappointed with that red mist. That was a really good opportunity. But Highfield it is, just clearing up the
34.
pink and black here.
Liam Highfield, 34.
Yeah, well done, Liam Highfield. 5-4 up against Zhou Yulong, all to play for when they come back at 5 o'clock. Right, Jamie Clark finishing off on table 8. (6-2), and this was him wrapping up for 7-2. So we've got some really interesting matches. We've got very one-sided affairs. Jianpeng Fei 8-1 up on Graham Dott, and then Kurt Mafflin 7-2 up on Rob Milkins. And we've got the matches that are as tight as they could be after 9. We've just seen Liam Highfield take a slight edge over Zhou Yu Long, and Liu Heo Chan is 5-4 up against Chang Bing Yu. Lu Ning and Wenbo, by the way, also 4 apiece, and courtesy of a break of 66, Lu Ning will be over the line for a 5-4 advantage in that one. This is Judgment Day Part 1 from the English Institute of Sport in Sheffield. It's a fantastic facility here just down from Meadowhall. It really is. Brilliant indoor athletics track. I've commentated there a few times. Lovely set of equipment in there. Great place to come and watch live athletics as well as live snooker. There's a table tennis centre of excellence. There's basketball, boxing. All sorts are based here. Right. Why don't we go and have a look? We've finished for now on tables 1, 2, 3. And also on table 5, 6 and 8. Looks like table 5. Well, yeah, table 5 is about to finish off. He's on a break of 82, still with the colours on, so could finish that afternoon with a century. Yeah, let's see if he can finish off the colours. Lu Ning, guaranteed to finish 5-4 this afternoon. That really is a commentator's curse. So it wasn't to be a century for Lu Ning, but he does have a slender edge over Liang Wenbo. So there's only one table left to join. Table 4, Matt Selt 4-2 up. Green onwards remaining on the colours, and there's only 3 points difference in the scores. So I'll try and find out over the next couple of minutes whether Martin Clark, what a pot that was from Scott Donaldson, absolutely superb. I'll try and find out whether Martin Clark is going to pull this off at the end of this frame, or whether he'll let another one start. Bearing in mind, we're now tickling towards 2:45. Jamie Jones and Lee Han is the other match still going on. They were off when we were watching the Octo screen. They were off having a little 2 minutes away from the arena. So they, in theory, have still got 2 frames to go. And it looks, yeah, they've just started. So perhaps Martin Clark will let the next frame start after this one. Big frame this, big moments for both men. Matt Selt for a 3-frame lead of Scott Donaldson pegs them back to within 1 of each other. Match being played in a great spirit there. Nice little exchange between the two of them, Ken.
Yeah, Matt thought he was going to send the cue ball in off there into the left centre, but just not the pink required for Jamie. Scott Donaldson, of course. So he's got to be careful here. I mean, okay, he could push the pink off the ball cushion onto the right hand side cushion, but he'd be giving the advantage to his opponent. You really want to get as much distance between cue ball and pink here if you can. Try and maybe knock the pink down towards this top cushion behind the black cushion first. Oh, well, he's got away with it. He's got away with it. The pink's gone safe. Now, what would you play here, Rob? You could play the straightforward safety shot, leave the pink down behind the black spot, or you could try and play the double. Do you play the double? Push the boat out.
Too much at stake, I think. I'd err on the side of caution.
He's gone for it. He's certainly gone for it, and it's not. Well, could have been easier. So pink for the frame for Scott Olsen. A bit of pressure on this one though. Yeah. Pressure out there, and you can tell, you can really feel it between the two players, what it means.
Only one other match still ongoing. Lee hangs on a useful little break of 26 in the early stages of the 8th frame between himself and Jamie Jones. Jamie Jones 6-1 up, of course. Just joining us, Liam Highfield has an advantage of 1 frame over Zhou Yu Long. He's 5-4 up when they come back at 5 o'clock. Jian Peng Fei leads Graham Dott 8-1. Yu Heo Chan 5-4 up against his compatriot, the 18-year-old Chan Bing Yu. Now let's have a look, see where this cue ball ends up. Tricky. 3-frame lead. If he can pop this black. Yeah, I thought for a moment he might be tempted to go to go for the showstopper, double it down the length of the table, but he knows there's too big a prize waiting for him if he can somehow steal this on the black.
Played a decent shot as well. He may play the back cross double here. Well, he's gone for it. He's gone for it. Oh, he should have played it with a bit more pace. Why play it at such a soft pace? If he hits it a little bit harder, the cue ball's in the centre of the ball cushion and the black is away from the pocket if he misses it. But he's gifted a chance here from Matt Selt. Big frame. Big frame for Matt Selt to win there.
5-2. He will be absolutely elated with that. I suspect Olivier Martial heading off that they may get one more frame in from those two. So there is only one other match still in progress. Let's have a look at table 7 then. Lee hangs on a break of 52, trailing Jamie Jones 6-1. It really has been a fabulous afternoon for the Welshman, because Jamie's compatriot and namesake, Jamie Clark, is 7-2 up against Mark Davis, but they're already off contemplating the evening. Jones and Lee hang. Would still have one more frame to go after this. So the information we're getting at the moment is that in theory, if this frame finishes soon, we would get the last scheduled frame of the 9 underway between Jamie Jones and Lee Hang. Little bit of exasperation from the Scottish Open semi-finalist.
Yeah, it's always frustrating, isn't it, when you're trying to just avoid any sort of contact on the ball colours with the blue coming in and out, trying to get back up towards these reds. You see that red just left of the pink, that's the one he wanted to be on. More difficult red, this one. Oh, good pot. Excellent shot. Great recovery from Lee Hang. He won't be doing anything with the blue, just trying to drop it in and play for this red that's on the black spot. That will put him 64 points in the lead, so just the red required to put him 65 with 59 left.
64.
It's funny, isn't it, Ken? That these best of 19s are absolutely riveting, because assuming he mops this up, and it looks like he will, all of a sudden 6-1 to 6-2, the last of the session, is massive, because he wins again and he's only got a clawback 3, or Jamie finds himself 7-2 up. Big frame coming up for these two.
Yeah. Well, I'm just looking at my watch to see would they get it in time. It depends on how long this break takes, because it's like, it's 7 minutes to 3 o'clock. The deadline is at 3, so I don't know whether he'd finish to this break within the deadline.
I've been sending some WhatsApp messages whilst you've been talking. Apparently, if this finishes quickly, they will get their allotted 9 in, but I'm pretty sure that where Matt Selt and Scott Donaldson are concerned, the frame that has just started would be their last. So they will play 8 this afternoon, because Matt Selt, we've just seen him go 5-2 up. So they'll end up coming back with 11 still to play, where everybody else has a maximum of 10. So I think the Selt Donaldson current frame would be the last, so they would be left 1 short. But after they took more than 2 hours for their first 4 frames, it's not really very surprising, is it? We'll get confirmation as to whether this is going to be the last frame of the afternoon as quickly as we can, but we rather suspect it would be.
I hope so, because you'd want to see the lads get a little bit of a break, would you? Because they're back at 5 o'clock, so it'd give them some little bit of time to, just to get a little bit of rest and get some food in, because, big session for both players tonight.
How mentally draining are these matches when you come off after 8 or 9, where it's been a real dogfight as it has been between these two? Are you so tired that you could almost have a power nap for half an hour?
Oh, absolutely, yeah, definitely. Yeah, I mean, it is very draining. I mean, it's not a physical sport, but mentally, I mean, the mental exertions, it does drain you physically. And yeah, you do. If you can get a little nap in, 15 or half an hour maybe, and then well and good. But you need a bit of rest and a little bit of fuel, a bit of some good food that's going to keep you going for this evening session, because it could go late. If any of these matches do go right to the wire, they're going to go on till very, very late. Bad mistake there from Matt Selt, wasn't it? It's just playing a simple little shot into the pack, and he's left an easy opener for Scott Donaldson. Scott was rocking a little bit there, like early on in this frame. He missed a couple of pots, and Looked like his cueing had sort of left him, and Matt Selt is giving him an easy opportunity just to get
6.
back and settle himself. Take these couple of reds with blacks and then contemplate about trying to split that pack of reds.
Just had an email from a guy called, well, it could be a female, Alex Mains, who says, what you're both saying about Sheffield at the moment, this is from a little while ago, I haven't checked my emails, I've just been on Twitter. What you're both saying about Sheffield today, 100%, such a great city. I fell in love with the place over the years I've been coming to the snooker. I had never been to Sheffield before that. Long may it continue to stay in the city of steel. And we might rock and roll a bit. We'll stay with this at the moment just to see how Scott goes with this break after that mistake from Matt Selt, because the other match still going on, Jamie Jones and Lee Hang. Lee Hang is at the table, and if he can claw his way back to 6-3 from 6-2, that makes it a very interesting scoreline indeed. From Jamie Jones' perspective, 7-2 would be a lovely way to head off for what is it, an hour and 45-minute break. So we'll stick with this at the moment, but we do only have the 2 tables still going.
He's on the red. Not the way he played it, but he'd certainly be happy with it.
Well, how costly will that prove to be for Scott Donaldson? There's a long way to go in this frame. But Matt Selt is beginning to make life a little bit uncomfortable for Scott Donaldson.
Yeah, it looks like Scott Donaldson has just lost his confidence a little bit. Losing that last frame in particular, when he had a couple of chances at the pink and didn't take them. Big difference, 4-3, 5-2. He just looks like he's a little bit shaken up from it.
We're going to head over to see what happens here with the pink. Yeah, this is... well, that could have been better, but Selt at least is at the table. Now, this is Lee Hang.
Oh.
I potted the blue, but the red went in, so that brought his break to an end. The ironic thumbs up. Jamie Jones quickly up and around the table. The reds are spread like an orchard, as Dominic Dale would say. So we'll keep a close eye on that one. And Jamie Jones is quickly gathering pace. He's already on a break of 22 and he's into the lead in that frame. Remember, he's trying to get himself 7-2 ahead, where Lee Hang was thinking about 6-3.
Yeah, that was unlucky, isn't it? It's the bane of every snooker player, isn't it? When you're splitting the pack with the blue, that there's always a possibility that you're going to knock a red in somewhere, but very, very unlucky.
Ooh, where's that going? Where's that going? Wow. The twists and turns of fortune. We're still waiting to clarify whether this will be the last frame contested between these two this afternoon. Remember, it's not 8 and 11. Well, actually, it could be. It's supposed to be 9 and 10. But the last time I checked with Martin Clark, just before play got underway, he clarified that he would be reluctant for these guys to get anything less than an hour and a half's rest at best. So it might well be that this will be their last frame. We'll just see how he goes here. And his safety as he lefts one. Looks like he's got a bit of cover. Can we head over to table 7, please? Because I think Jamie Jones is in the process of capitalising on that stroke of misfortune from his rival Lee Hang. Jamie 3 times has appeared at the Crucible. Lee Hang has been there once. He managed to just about avoid a whitewash against Barry Hawkins, 10-1. So this is a great opportunity for Jamie Jones to really turn the screw and leave himself only 3 frames away from a 4th appearance at the Crucible.
Big difference as well, isn't it? With that red going in, I mean, the balls were at his mercy for Lee Hang there. Would have definitely been 6-3, now 7-2. Big difference. Very, very unlucky Lee Hang.
So we're just edging towards the end of our opening session of coverage of part 1 of Judgment Day. Don't worry, we'll be back for everything at 5 o'clock, and we'll be hot-footing it from our commentary position, all of about 6 paces to our interview room, where I'll be having a word with the 8 successful players who get themselves through to the big draw on Thursday, 11 o'clock. And a reminder, that draw will be live on the Eurosport app, and I believe it will also be live on the World Snooker Tour Facebook and YouTube pages, and the Sportsman Facebook and YouTube pages as well. So many questions and bits and bobs still coming in. Good afternoon, Sinead Doonan. Hello to Lindsay Feeks White, who says, don't you worry about it, Dottie's got this. Oh, apparently Michael Owen is a good snooker player as well. So this is going to be the last frame.
See you both. It's 5 to 5.
So I see you at 4:45, says Rob Spencer. So Jamie does indeed get himself a 7-2 advantage. Exactly the same scoreline that his compatriot Jamie Clark will resume with against Mark Davis. So these guys are going to come back potentially ready for an absolute marathon. Oh, good stuff, Ian. Thanks very much for watching. 59 days to the Euros. Wow, it's going to come around so quickly, isn't it? Yeah, it's two fascinating days of snooker, this. It really is. As I mentioned earlier to Ken, it really enhances your understanding of what these guys go through and what it means to them to appear at the Crucible. One thing's for certain. I mean, Ken,
I got a question there, Rob. Actually,
go on.
actually, like people say, when I was to say, do you keep an eye on the qualifiers and who's going to come through on Judgment Day? You can bet your bottom dollar that most of the top 16 are actually watching this at the moment now.
Really?
Yeah, most of the top 16 will be watching this. They'll be spinning in and out. They won't watch it all day long because they'll be obviously doing a bit of practice, but they'll be keeping an eye on who's winning, who's losing, you know, because some of them will have friends in this Judgment Day, but some of them will be keen to see who's playing well, who the possible opponents that they will get. Even the other guys who are playing in Judgment Day tomorrow, you can be sure they'll be watching this now as well. So yeah, all the seeds, most of them you would say, will be keeping an eye on this Judgment Day for sure. I think the fact that because we all love the game and we love to see the other guys, you know, how they're going to perform or how the pressure is building, the big frames, the big shots within the frame, you know, we're all sort of, you know, we're all keen sort of followers of the game, even though we're playing it all the time ourselves, but you know, and interesting to see who's going to get through. So yeah, they'll be watching.
Actually, I think I remember when Neil Folt and I were doing that 2-hour, 5-minute epic between old 5-ton Fergal and Dave Gilbert. I think Stuart Bingham sent us a message to say something like, has somebody brought you a takeaway for you to eat? Because it was, by that time, it was about 1 o'clock in the morning. I think we were getting well fed, Foldsy and I, and keep us armed with sustenance. So last frame of the afternoon then. Matt Sell already knows tonight is going to be a big one. And if it gets tight against Scott Donaldson, it could be a very late finish indeed. But he's in quite a commanding position here, and yeah, Scott Donaldson is going to have an uncomfortable hour and a half if Matt Selt is able to turn the screw further by taking this 8th. Thought he was dead and buried at 5-2 down against Nigel Bond. Said to me afterwards in his interview, well, I was contemplating seeing my son and just shrugging my shoulders and kissing goodbye to the season. But he showed some class and some grit from that scoreline against Nigel Bond.
It's amazing when you see a player who has come through a match like that. You know, he felt he sort of, you know, pulled one out of the bag, and then the next match that they come out, they really sort of play very, very well, you know, and sort of get through with sort of consummate ease, and that may be what's happening to Matt Selt here. Big target to get on the red, just below the pink here, into the bottom left corner pocket.
I mean, Ken, we touched on this earlier. He was so good against Hendry. It was ridiculous. I mean, some of those, every time he came to the table, it just didn't look like he was going to miss.
But I thought Hendry was poor, though, wasn't he?
Yeah, I'm going to let you drop that hand grenade. Well, he did move to 7-7-6 instead of 7-7-5, didn't he?
Yeah, no, well, he did.
But
no, I thought Matt played really well. Yeah, and I thought, you know, before the match, I thought there might be more pressure on Matt than actually Stephen Hendry, but I thought he coped with it very, very well indeed. I think the fact that Matt knows Stephen Hendry so well and they were good friends, that may have actually helped him in that match. I think if it had been somebody else that Stephen got in the first round, you know, he may have got through that match, but he did play well. You did right, Matt Selt.
Just having a little trip down memory lane on Matt Selt's 2 Crucible visits after you very magnanimously acknowledged coming through the decider against you in 13 on Judgment Day.
Yeah.
Then sort of succumbed to Mark Selby 10-4, and then he lost on his second visit as well in 2015. But on that occasion, and we know what a brilliant performer Barry Hawkins has gone on to become, reaching, 4 single table setups in 5 years. He was up against the Hawks, 7-3 down, and took him all the way to a decider. So, he did show on that second visit to the Crucible that, if you give him half a chance, he's up for it on the big stage. And again, it's an intriguing story if he makes it through for a third time, having, very candidly admitted after the comeback against Nigel Bond that it just wasn't good enough for a player of his calibre to only have been there twice.
Yeah. Well, he's getting to the crux of this frame now, but he looks to be slightly straight on this red. Has he got an angle that you can screw straight back for the black into the same pocket? May do. Yeah, these are tight along this cush. You've got to make sure that you've got a nice angle. You see, when he potted that black to get on that red, he's got to make sure that he's high on the red, just so he can just drop it in along that top cushion with no pace whatsoever. Because as this week has gone on, Rob, and we've been here since what, probably many days now, 8 days is it altogether so far, these tables tighten up, and particularly these 2 bottom pockets, left and right of the black. So any sort of pace we saw with Zhu Yu Long in that last frame against Liam Highfield on the TV table, he had to inject a little bit of pace on that red along the cushion, missed it. And Matt Selt there the same. You've got to be so careful. Those particular shots now, a chance for Scott Donaldson. Drop the red into the middle, good shot. Just a little clip on the pink has given him sort of the wrong angle on the pink to get back on this red. And he has to go in and out of balk if he does take the pink on. Blue, a possibility. Oh, what a big shot he's taken on here, Rob. This is tough. Very, very tough. Oh, if he hits the red and moves it away, he might get away with it, does he? No. You see how quick he was up off that shot. He's very uneasy at the moment, Scott Donaldson.
He's really feeling it, isn't he?
Yeah, big time, yeah. I think that last frame has really sort of made him very, very edgy.
Oh, interesting analogy there from Dan Cody, drawing parallels between the NFL red zone and what we're doing this afternoon. Right then, so an uncomfortable scoreline for Scott Donaldson when they resume in, what is it now? Yep, an hour and 3/4. So just enough time for them to go up and have a little break. Well, that's it. There's no more live action, so we're just about wrapped up here. Ken Doherty and I were in vision. Give him a little wave, Ken.
How are you guys?
The darling of Dublin doing a fantastic job. Do you know what? We've been in this so long. They brought me a sandwich. I haven't even had a chance to eat it.
Sandwich? A foot long sandwich?
Well, we're going to be here for hours later.
Is there only one sandwich in there? That's what I want to know.
So there's the view of the Crucible, and these are the scores. Excellent match shaping up on table 1 between Liam Highfield and Zhao Yu Long. Chan Peng Fei just 2 frames away from a second appearance at the Crucible. Liu Heo Chan with an advantage, but watch out for that 18-year-old who started with that 1-3-5. Matt Selt, well, they have a possible 11 to play when they come back in an hour and 3/4 time. Pretty tight between Lu Ning and Liang Wenbo. Maflin's in control against Rob Milkins, but don't write the milkman out just yet, as Ken Doherty said. Perhaps if he wins 3 of the first 4, it's a different type of match. Jamie Jones and Jamie Clark both enjoying 7-2 leads over Lee Hang and Mark Davis respectively. We really hope you've enjoyed the starter for Judgement Day 1. We're now down to within, well, 3 days and 18 and a bit hours. It's all about getting in the draw and walking down the stairs on that famous carpet. Ken, looking forward to tonight at 5?
Oh yeah, absolutely. Looking forward to the climax of some really close matches there. Some guys have got big leads, but I think there's a long way to go in a lot of those matches. All right, it's going to be exciting.
Right. I'm going to eat my sandwich. Please enjoy a cup of tea and a biscuit wherever you are in the world. We will see you tonight, 5 o'clock. 8 men will book their place in this year's Betfred World Snooker Championship. Don't you dare miss it. See you in an hour and 3 quarters.